if anything you say or do will be recorded.
Thanks for the warning.
So yeah.
Okay, so hello Rob, I'm Manel.
Kia ora. Where are you from?
Broadland School.
Oh yeah.
At 1MBDS on Twitter. And I've been to your leadership workshop in, I can't remember, 1 year here in Rotorua.
Oh, that might have been at ULEN.
Yes, that's right.
Wow, that's going back.
Yeah. Oh.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
I'm Rick from St Michael's in Rotorua.
Oh, kia ora, how you going?
I am Rose from Kaharoa School. I'm not being rude, I'm making notes on my phone.
Oh, no worries, Rose. Hey, nice to meet you all. And as you know, my name's Rob Clarke. I'm ex-recovering principal and now leadership consultant. And I kind of operate in the leadership and technology spaces, but also I do a bit of work around curriculum design. So it's all the kind of the best parts of principalship, really, what I do. And my business is called Learning Architects. And it's a lot of fun. So I understand you want to look at strengths-based leadership today. Is that right?
Yes, I've told them that we've got the centrally funded PLD project and we're working with you.
Yeah.
And it's specifically around what we're doing in that strengths-based leadership. Because I think it's different to what a lot of schools are doing.
Yep. Hey, Anne, would you be happy for me to share that team grid, that team strengths grid as part of it?
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, so I'll give you a bit of background. And how much time do we have? 15 minutes, was it?
Yeah. Is 15 minutes okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be guided by you guys. So, you know, I'm actually in Wellington right now, and I've been in Auckland earlier today. So I've transitioned to Wellington, and I'm at a school in Porirua, a wonderful client of mine, like St Mary's, called Tatahi Bay. And so if a cleaner comes in with a vacuum cleaner, you know where I am, right? So I've been in business now for about just on 5 years, and I've been looking for a while for a tool or a framework that I could use to help the leaders that I work with around the country, because I'm doing an increasing amount of work in the area of leadership, team coaching and development. So I do all sorts of things from appraisal work to helping leadership teams and staff develop better ways of working and building their team culture, that sort of type of work. And I looked at about 4 different approaches to this. I've used the one called the Herman Brain Dominance Instrument a few times in my career with Julie Ratkin. And I looked at another one called Leadership Profile Circle, and there's a few of them floating around. And I wanted something that would resonate with the ethos of education, but that would also be globally relevant and really industry agnostic, I guess you could call it. So it could go into non-education settings equally as well as education. So I settled on a tool called the CliftonStrengths Finder. And what I might do is I might share with you my screen, and what I'm going to do is load up a page just to show you what it looks like. Bear with me while I get my screen share sorted. And basically, this system is based on the premise: what if we only focused on what people are naturally good at? Okay, so the whole thing around strengths-based development is really homing in on what you are naturally good at, and this philosophy identifies areas of talent that human beings have and enables them to understand those areas of talent, apply them, and turn them into a strength. Okay, so rather than continually focusing on what we're really poor at or our deficiencies, we focus on what we're naturally good at and apply that to what we call performance challenges. Does that make sense so far? Now, if you think about it, I went to Sydney in March, and I spent a week at Gallup headquarters. So Gallup is the company that has the CliftonStrengths Finder as an assessment tool. And it's a 45-minute assessment that you can take. You can pay for it online, or you can get it through Learning Architects. And it gives you a report, and it ranks your areas of talent in order of intensity. Okay, so there are 34 areas of talent that Gallup has identified. And so the philosophy is you focus on what the dominant talents are. Okay, so let me just share a part of my screen. And what's that, sorry?
The number of people using this tool.
I didn't quite hear the start of that question, sorry, Anne.
Is this widely used throughout the world?
Yes, it is. So this tool is used, it's been used by about, I think, 10 million people. Okay, so it's a very, very widely used tool. Okay, so let me just check that I've got the right screen shared. Right, so this is Gallup's website, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into it, and so you can get to this website by going to gallup.com, GALLUP.com, and it gives you there's a wealth of resources on it. So this company is what I would call a data science company, and they do large-scale research for governments and organisations like the United Nations and UNESCO and so on. The one recent report that they have done is the World Happiness Report, which you may have heard of in the news. So they do really large-scale research. So they're very much a scientific and data sort of an organisation. I'm going to sign in, and I'm going to show you an example of the sort of report that you can get out of this. Now, as I log in, one of the things that's interesting, New Zealand is number 3 in the world per capita for people that have taken the CliftonStrengths Finder assessment. And so there are around about, I believe there's about 50,000 Kiwis that have done the Strengths Finder. So it's very, and maybe because we're kind of curious about ourselves, I don't know, but the thing that I've realized since becoming a coach is that you don't really get the benefit from this unless you undertake some form of coaching. And I'm not necessarily saying coaching with Rob, but just coaching with somebody that can help you take it further. Okay, so you can see here in the middle, this where it says CliftonStrengths. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah, you can see these are my top 5. Okay, so my number 1 is activator, which is characterized by putting thoughts into action. I can learn more about that, or I can watch a video about it. If I go into this area, that takes me into the strengths section of this website. And I can go a little bit deeper. Now, down the right, you can see that there are a number of reports that you can access. Now, Anne, this will interest you. Can you see the one at the top on the right called CliftonStrengths 34?
Yeah, I've got that.
That is a new report that just got released, I believe, either 1 or 2 weeks ago, and it's a wealth of information. It combines a number of the different coaching conversations that we've undertaken into one report. I'm going to show you so this is all for an individual, right? Now, if you are a member of a team, and so a number of the clients that I'm working with are obviously leadership teams around the country, St. Mary's being one of them. Actually, do you want me to show you an individual's report first? That might be an idea. So I'm just going to download my theme sequence report, and let me just check that I'm actually giving you the right screen. What's that? Sorry, Anne, I can't quite hear you.
My stuff here as well, if they want.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I don't really need to show that, but this is only really for the benefit of the people that aren't there, eh? So this is what's known as my theme sequence report, and it gives me all of my talent areas ranked in order of intensity. Okay, so these areas predict 3 aspects of our makeup. One is what energizes us. Another is how we may tend to behave. And the third is how we might process information. Okay. So if you know those things about yourself as a leader, you're a lot more self-aware and you're more able to then self-regulate and adjust how you behave and how you think about things in your everyday work. Okay. So I'm going to go back to here and go to the team area, because this is an area that will interest you. Now, when you start getting into in terms of undertaking any coaching, it very much starts as an individual process, and that process is both an individual personal journey as well as a collective journey into your own level of self-awareness. But also over time, you become more aware of how each of you are talented. So you can see here in this team, and this is the St. Mary's leadership team, you can see that there's a really good distribution of talents. You can see that this one here called Achiever has actually got a cluster of people that have that as in their top 5. Can you guys see that? You can also see that Learner over here on the right under the strategic thinking domain has got another cluster. And you can see too that there are four categories. So these categories are categories of leadership. So executing, and if I click on that, it says leaders with dominant strength in the executing domain know how to make things happen. When you need someone to implement a solution, these are the people who work tirelessly to get it done. Leaders with a strength to execute have the ability to catch an idea and make it a reality. Whereas the influencing domain is about people taking charge, influencing others, taking it to a broader audience. So when you need someone to take charge, speak up and make sure your group is heard, look to someone with the strength to influence. Relationship building is growing a team, connecting with people, creating groups and organizations that are greater than the sum of their parts. And strategic thinking is finding solutions and pathways, really, I guess you could say is the essence of that one. Now, you can see too that I can show the talents just below the top 5 in this, and I can also show what's known as the lesser talents, which are the ones that are the least intense for people. And in addition, which I think is really interesting, is this here at the top right. This is the theme rank order for this particular leadership team. Okay, and so with the coaching, I'm going to show you something else now. Let me just open up a different document. Have you got any questions so far?
Are you okay, Tanya? Yeah.
All good? Okay. I'm going to share a different part of my screen, and I'm going to open up a couple of different images just to give you a sense of how the coaching can unfold. So what I've got here is a different screen of a card from my coaching kit. So this is what's known as a theme insight card. You know how before I said talent predicts how we behave, how we process information, and what energizes us? This card takes it a little bit deeper. So it looks at what I will tend to be, what somebody with a dominant, with the achiever talent will tend to be, what they may tend to do, so that's their behaviour. They'll set the pace for production. What they bring and what they require from a team. And these are all exercises that are unpacked with a team coaching situation that enable a team to get deeper awareness, gain deep awareness and insight into how they tick and how they best work. Your values, so what you love and what you might hate. So these are really important to know about yourself. But imagine knowing what your teams in your schools, what energizes them or what de-energizes them. And you probably have an intuitive sense of that, but this kind of percolates it up to the top. The metaphor is just a visual way of thinking about this talent area. So getting to the finish line. Another one might be ticking off the list, which would be another one for that one, Anne? Anne, tell us what the barrier label is.
So, with your particular strength, others might, for example, one of mine is command, but then others might see that as me stepping in and taking over, or they might be intimidated by my approach. Is that enough, Rob?
Yeah. So a barrier label is effectively how others may perceive you negatively if you let things get away on you. Okay. So this is all about growing people's self-awareness so that they can better monitor and take action to get better results in their performance. Okay. Because this is not about just knowing yourself. This is about about clients improving outcomes in their performance, okay, and getting better results. Theme contrasts are interesting. So theme contrasts are statistically opposite to areas of talent. So where achiever wants to get it done, activator wants to get it started. These can be insights into the sorts of people that might be really good to partner with. Okay, so for me, with this leadership team who have achiever as number one and my activator as number one, that's a good match if we can utilize one another's talents well. Okay. Achiever and intellection. Achiever means intense diligence. Intellection means intense thinking. Now, if I switch that to a different one, just to give you an alternative, self-assurance is. By contrast, you can see self-assurance is energized or de-energized in different ways from achiever. How's that going, landing so far for you guys? Any questions?
I think it's probably a pretty good introduction, Rob.
It's amazing, Rob, because we've been talking and thinking and working more with our kiddies at school too. To do what are they good at already, and how can we incorporate that into other areas that they struggle. For instance, I've got a little boy who's amazing at tech and he'll do anything but write. But if you ask him to set up a document to write about how to set up the equipment for assembly, the sound stuff.
Yep.
So same, though for the kiddies, we've found that strength, turning it around into what they can do. Even today, Warwick was in my room, the principal and the kiddies had done some maths things, and one of them said, "Oh, I got 2 wrong," and he said, "Let's have another look at that. You got 14 right."
Yeah.
We're always looking at the positivity and what has happened, but I can see this again. Obviously, that an adult is going to a different level again.
Yeah, it does. And this is what we're doing here is really scratching the surface. And Anne will give you the St. Mary's leadership team are well down the track in terms of their individual coaching, and they're progressing really well in terms of their team coaching. What this does is it gives you a language that you can apply to how you operate within your team. And I'm really interested in using strengths-based leadership development as a tool for helping organizations become healthier through better performance. And you know, I'm sure you'll be aware of the push nationwide for wellness in the workplace and education. And you know, maybe if we looked at working conditions as well, we could make quicker inroads into that. And I think Canterbury, the wellness movement has really probably come from Canterbury post-earthquake. I'm really interested in how you can get better health and wellness in an organisation through better performance. So this gives you a language that you can use in order to achieve that. One of the things that I think might be worth touching on is where's the place of weaknesses in all of this? And there is a place for talking about your weaknesses and your deficiencies, but we do it through the lens of talent. Okay, so for example, a leader that, let's take, and this is not St. Mary's example. I'm about to just check in with the caretaker, who I think might be turning the alarm on in 10 minutes. So bear with me. I'll just say good day. 5:30.
5:30?
Yeah, because you're turning the alarm on at 5:30, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that all right?
Yeah, you're the only one in here.
Yes, I know. I'll pull the door and lock it. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Yep, all good. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow too.
All right.
Okay. Right. Where was I? What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, weaknesses. So, you know, take a principal and a DP in a senior leadership team at a school, and every time the principal, because the principal's talent area, the principal's and the DP's talent areas are very different, which is actually really important, because if you can utilize one another's talents, you're going to get a much better, more potent, more potential for better outcomes, right? Better performance, if you can use your talents and turn them into strengths. Now, imagine every time the principal said, oh, we should try this approach or do this idea, and the DP is interpreting that as, oh gosh, I need to do that, and running away and starting something half-cocked and trying to implement something and really overworking and burning themselves out, right? So that's an example of what's known as a blind spot of talent. That's where that DP is misinterpreting the meaning from that principle and interpreting it as, I must do this, when really it was just an idea. Does that make sense? Now, through some strengths-based understanding and understanding how one another's talents work, the realization in that case is one of, oh, when you say we should, that doesn't mean I must, right? It's a very subtle thing to pick up. But also that principal's now very much more aware of the language that he or she is using, and the impact of the language. Okay, so it's those sorts of subtle things that make all the difference in a team. Yeah, and there's lots of little examples like that where it might be where a team leader wants to figure out how best to approach their principal in order to sell an idea or to convince him or her of something, and they're not sure how to approach the issue. But if they do it through the lens of talent, then they're going to be able to present the information in a way that the other person will understand. And also it will probably round out how they think about things. So there's a real place for dealing with looking at what your goals are for your performance, but looking at it through a lens of talent. And if you can apply your talents to an area that you want to get better at, then you're already using something that you're naturally good at in order to improve in an area that you know you want to get better at. Does that make sense? Yeah. Coming back from Sydney in March, I was thinking about all sorts of things about education in terms of how broken I think it is in terms of how we do education. And, you know, much of what we do in schools is about identifying gaps and weaknesses. And so, you know, I was quite challenged to think about, you know, how we approach learning support, for example. And we have this tendency, I think, to approach human growth and development through the lens of deficit, and putting more in and hitting the nail harder with the same hammer isn't necessarily going to make the difference. I think we have to find better strategies to engage people in a way that works for them, that activates what they're already good at. And this is a really good framework for that. Yeah. So that is my off-the-cuff view on this.
Thank you very much, and we better let you get out of there before the alarm goes off.
No, it's okay. He won't turn it on me until he sees me walk out the door, I'm sure, so that's fine.
Hey, we really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Thanks, Rob.
Okay.
Okay.
Catch you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.